Welcome to Future Foodcast. I'm Pam Miller, your host. Today, we're really going to dive into the food industry with someone who's making an impact on the ecosystem and particularly on food waste. I want to introduce Anna Hammond. She is the CEO and founder of Matriarch Foods. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Hey, Pam, thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you and have you share what you're doing at Matriarch Foods and what your mission is. But first of all, how did you even get started in this company?
Well, first, I think I have to say, if you're not doing something positive with food and the environment right now, it's a pretty critical place to be working. And there are over 800 million people globally going hungry, and we grow enough food to feed the world 1.5 times over. So the business is really driven by our passion to change things for the better for people and planet. And I started the business a little over 5 years ago, having spent about a decade building a healthy eating program in public housing in New York City. And if you or your listeners don't know the fact, public housing in New York City is technically the 10th largest city in the United States by number of people living there. A lot of people suffering from diet-related illness, very little access to healthy food, and an incredibly strong desire for greater access and having food that's healthy. So they really were cooking classes, how to cook healthy food on a budget. The premise being that if you don't know how to cook and you're living on a budget, it's very hard to eat healthy food in a regular way in this country. So really bringing those kind of home cooking skills back into people's lives with very simple ingredients. And part of the work was brokering relationships with farmers in Columbia County to donate produce into the classes. So we're mostly working with small and mid-scale farmers, and farmers need income. So the donation model, while it's extremely prevalent in this country, doesn't benefit small and mid-scale farmers. So really wanted to find a way to solve three issues simultaneously. One, reduce the amount of food that's wasted from an environmental impact perspective. Two, create more economic opportunities for small and mid-scale farmers. And three, greater access to healthy food for more people. So that's was the inspiration, and that's why I started the business.
Yeah, that is so exciting. And you really had your feet on the ground with people that you were actually making a difference with, teaching them how to cook with the raw ingredients. Because you're right, if you're eating out or buying junk food or cheap fast food, that's not going to be healthy eating in the long term. So being able to utilize those fruits and vegetables and other food from the local
Eat
farmers.
dried beans. There's so many inexpensive ways to cook if you know how to do it. And I have 3 sons and 4 grandchildren now, and they're all my sons know how to cook a healthy meal on a budget, and the little kids are learning too. So, it's self-sufficiency and also just, taking health into your own hands.
Good for you. Well, I know one of the things that you do is focusing on, when we go to the grocery store, a lot of times we're looking for kind of the premium fruits and vegetables, the ones that are perfectly round or the cucumbers that are perfectly formed. But honestly, there's a lot of food that's wasted because it might have a little dimple here or there, and you're really making an impact in that area.
Yeah, that's really the focus of our supply chain is upcycling. And upcycling, again, if your audience doesn't know what that means, is really bringing all food to its highest purpose, which is feeding people. And the way that our food system is operates is, consumers have been very trained to always have something that looks perfect, and that sort of seems to mean always like, oh, it's the best because it doesn't have any blemishes. But also there's sort of hidden interesting reasons that people don't always think about, like transporting food in cartons that are built a certain way for a certain size. That's not how nature works, but it's also is how food can get transported more easily and protected. So we really kind of go into places where food is wasted for one reason or another, whether it's too big or it's too small or it has a slight blemish, or they're byproducts. So for example, when you go to the grocery store and you buy celery sticks, imagine all the celery that's not there.
Yeah.
Um, that's where we're capturing products and creating food safe compliant supply chain to make those into healthy food.
There you go. And thereby impacting the amount of food that is wasted, or in your case, not wasted, because you're able to insert yourself into that supply chain and pluck those unused food sources out.
Yeah, I mean, our, food systems over the last 70 years have really been built for high efficiency. But what efficiency meant, 70 years ago or 50 years ago is very different from what it means now. 70 years ago, part of the movement was really trying to create more food, less expensive, getting it out to long distances. And that's the positive spin on it. Yes, there's a lot of capitalism in there and a lot of making cheap things that aren't healthy for people, but there's also a good side to it. We have roads in this country and we have storage. There are ways that we can rethink the way the food system has been built to be better for the environment. So we really look for opportunities where we can layer the positive pieces of the food system, maximize those, save people money so they're not throwing things out, create more economic opportunities for small and mid-scale producers, and bring that supply back into a circular, healthy system.
All right, so for this portion of the food ecosystem where maybe celery sticks are being cut or other food products are being made, and then there's waste, but it's not really waste. It's like you said, upcyclable real food that can be made into edible food. Are you working with companies that have this waste in that portion of the?
Yeah. So, I mean, I always like to say, and this is, I don't even know, who said this first. I do not know, but waste isn't waste until you waste it. So,
Okay.
just even calling it that, it's food. It's, and I think that
Exactly.
that's really what we're focused on is just getting everyone to look at the entire vegetable, whatever it is, celery, onion, carrot, mushroom, kale, cauliflower as usable, delicious food.
Mhm.
And so we work with large scale manufacturers of vegetables, fresh cut facilities, and we capture their byproducts and help them put in place systems for separating those things out. And then we purchase those products from them as ingredients. And then we also work with networks of regional farmers as well with surplus.
Okay. So that's great because you're giving them a place to put this food instead of just throwing it away and making it be in that category of waste. We're saving it from being categorized that way. And we're able
Exactly.
to,
And it really is, it makes sense as a business solution to the problem. No one, I mean, literally, if you're throwing food out, you're throwing money out. So all the labor and the land and the water and the fertilizer that have been spent to grow that food, when you put it in the garbage, you're basically putting dollar bills in the garbage. And so when you develop good systems for recapturing that money, everyone kind of wants to make it happen.
absolutely.
So, it's and also kind of creates more equity across the system because everyone wants to make money and needs to make money to survive. And so we're really, sort of looking at those opportunities and maximizing them as much as possible.
Yeah, Anna, I think you brought up a great point about when we do throw away usable food, it's really like throwing away money. All that went into producing that food is just money out the door. I myself, just in my own home, try, because I know that's also a big source of waste. I try to manage what I buy so that I'm not wasting good food. I try to use up because I buy a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and I try to use them up. I do not like to throw them away, or let them get past the used date, or not even a date, just the way the substances they go rotten, or I don't use them before they are not no longer edible. And it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to plan. I think that that's the thing. We've gotten out of the habit of planning ahead. And I mean, at the home level, there's so many ways to reduce your food waste. Like one of those is to like plan your meals ahead of time, on shop on Sunday and know what you're going to make across the course of the week and prep some of that in advance. Food waste at the home level is a very big issue. I think it's a little over 40% of all food that's wasted is wasted in the home in the
Oh my.
United States. But that leaves, 55% that's happening at many other junctures, manufacturing, on-farm food loss, food that's lost in transportation, food that expires more quickly. So I think, we're very focused on some of those other waste streams because there's so many good solutions there as well.
Yeah. Well, what are some examples of maybe edible items that don't make it to the retail store because, maybe they're not perfect, or
I
they
mean,
don't
you
look
name
great?
it, like go to any grocery store and look at the apples. They're literally almost all the same size.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at an apple tree, you can barely spot two apples that are exactly the same.
Okay.
So it's, I really try and get people to visualize how nature works and then how the food system works. Because once you start to think about that, you can't unsee it. So we really focus on literally any vegetable product that is off spec or misshapen or is a little too ripe or a little too unripe. Mostly we look at a lot of stuff that's almost past the point of ripeness, like for
Mhm.
example, tomatoes, which are the most delicious when they're just at the point of turning.
Mhm.
So, pretty much everything in our system has a waste stream that's usable. And we're really working to rectify that.
Exciting. I'm just thinking, to help that. I mean, if we have access locally to a farmer's market, or a local farmer that might be selling their fruits and vegetables, we could avoid that uniformity problem by going there and buying from those local farmers.
Yeah. So farmers markets are a really great place from an educational perspective because farmers bring everything to market. I mean, not everything, but like, a range of sizes, let's say. So, there'll be beautiful heirloom tomatoes. Some are small, some are big, same with apples, same with celery, same with kale. And I think people really get to see, get to connect with nature at a farmer's market, get to connect with the farmer. That personal relationship is so important to kind of having empathy about people who grow our food. So, I think farmers markets are a great place to think about how much food could potentially get wasted and also how nature actually produces it. And then that can make you more sensitive when you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh, right, things don't actually grow this way. So, all of it. I mean, I like to say like we need to be doing all of it, simultaneously, thinking about it, purchasing differently, keeping in mind food waste, et cetera. And that's how we'll get to a better place.
Yeah, and those are some really good solutions for those of us who are consumers. And know you're working with companies to help them just see that there are other options for them other than just discarding the food that they're not using in their particular manufacturing process. A lot of these solutions aren't in place everywhere. And so maybe companies are throwing food out, or maybe consumers aren't taking, going to the local farmers market and trying to just buy whatever's available. And so there's a huge impact on the back end for that food.
Oh, it's huge. And that's, I mean, we're in three channels: food service, retail, and emergency food. And we always give out at the end of a year, a full report on how many pounds of vegetables have been diverted from landfill, how much water saved, how many how many pounds of greenhouse gases. And for every pound of food that doesn't go to landfill, you're saving almost 120 gallons of water from being wasted and 2.5 pounds of greenhouse gases from going into the environment. So, multiply that times, our products, and our products have different amounts of upcycled vegetables in them. But, one company we're working with last year saved 500,000 pounds of vegetables from going to landfill. That was 70 million gallons of water that they saved and 1.6 million pounds of greenhouse gases. So you can see the accumulation can have a massive effect.
Absolutely. At scale, you get to really, really big numbers, Anna. So thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
and I mean, and at scale means a lot of things. So, one person might divert like 100 pounds during the course of a year, but that person times 100, is 1,000 pounds. So, it's where a place where I feel like everyone can participate in a pretty satisfying way toward the greater good.
Absolutely. I think all of us can, and especially after hearing this episode of Future Foodcast, maybe our audience will be thinking a little bit more about how they're buying and consuming and also managing their own home with the fruits and vegetables and the, products that they bring in so they can minimize their own food waste because the impact really is very, very large. I mean, can be very large. So we really want to mitigate that. Well, what else are you doing, or are there other things that you would like to bring to our audience that's happening at Matriarch Foods?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing, that's happened in the last year that we're really excited about is we launched a product for food banks and emergency food, which is, a huge, huge need in this country. And a lot of money is spent actually in that space by the government and philanthropy on purchasing of food that isn't always the healthiest for all kinds of reasons. But we launched a vegetable harvest stew that's got 18 grams of protein from native beans grown in New York State by small farmers, 12 grams of fiber from kale, 30% daily value of iron. And we launched that as part of the Nourish New York program in the state. And then it got put on the Feeding America national marketplace at the beginning of this year. And then also started selling into Meals on Wheels programs. So really kind of taking the value proposition of the company from an environmental and human and health perspective and targeting, a place where people really are in great need, unfortunately. So that's a new thing. It's not new to the company, but launching a product that's specifically targeted there. And then we're working with a lot of big food service companies, so college and university dining, healthcare, business and industry utilizing our ingredients. And we're starting to work also with some bigger food companies who are purchasing our ingredients to integrate into their regular offerings to have the upcycled claim and also to start meeting some of their publicly stated scope 3 goals.
Very exciting. You know that you have so many great initiatives going on, and Anna will be sure in the show notes to put a link to your report that you put out on your website so that people can find out about your products and the impact that you're making and see where they might be able to get involved as well. Thank you so much for being with us to share all of this.
Oh, I'm absolutely my pleasure and happy always to answer questions. You can reach out to me personally on our website if you want to get involved or learn more, and we have a lot of resources available for people.
That's exciting. And also on our show, if anyone wants to comment on this episode, we'll be sure to get those comments to Anna as well. We would love to engage with you and see if you'd like to hear more about initiatives like this. Thank you for being with us on this episode of Future Foodcast. Until next time, I'm Pam Line-Miller.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.